Dear students, today I am going to explain you chapter 6, The Adventure of Three Students. This chapter is a play which is written by Arthur Conan Doyle. In this chapter, he shows how a professor going to the private detective Sherlock Holmes and how he solved his mystery. We all know that the Sherlock Holmes is a very famous private detective, and the character of the Sherlock Holmes is created by author Conan Doyle. So in this chapter there are some characters, as you can see. Number 1, Sherlock Holmes. Number 2, Dr. Watson. Sherlock Holmes is a private detective and Dr. Watson is his assistant or his very best friend. Number 3, Miles McLaren, a student. Number 4, Gilchrist, a student. Dolat Ras, a student. Hilton Soames, a teacher at the St. Luke's College. Bannister, a servant at the college. So there are the characters of the story. There are 3 scenes in this story. First one is the Sherlock Holmes house, and second one Soames' room in the St. Luke College, and third one is Soames' room. So there are the 3 scenes. Now I am going to explain how the story begins. So there is a professor named as the Hilton Soames that is a professor or a teacher in the St. Luke's College. They are going to conduct an examination, and what happened a day before the examination. Scene 1, Sherlock Holmes' house. What is this in this scene number 1? I am going to explain you. There is a professor named as the Hilton Soames, and he is a professor in the St. Luke's College. Tomorrow will be the first day of an important examination, and Mr. Soames was one of the examiner. Today at 3 o'clock, 3 exam papers arrived to the Mr. Soames, and they have to recheck them. At 3 o'clock, they start to read them papers. At 4:30 p.m., he wants to take a tea, so he goes to his friend's room and he is locked his room with his key. But when he comes back, he saw that there is a key in his door. He thought, can I leave my key here? Then he checked his pocket, but his key was in his pocket. Then he thinks, if my key is in my pocket, then whose keys is this? Okay, then he reminds, oh, that is the key of Bannister. Bannister is Mr. Soames' servant. So he think that this key is belong to Bannister. I think he come in my room to take the tea. Then he saw that all the papers are here and there. They are not their proper place. Then he think that someone has copied the examination papers, and he is very worried. Then he goes to Mr. Sherlock Holmes to solve this case. So scene number 1 is that how they are talk to Mr. Soames, Mr. Wilson, Mr. Sherlock Holmes. Scene 1, Holmes not looking up. Who was at the door? Watson. So there are the Watson and Holmes are sitting in their room, and Mr. Soames knock at their door. Then Holmes asked, who is at the door? Watson. Oh, there is a Mr. Hilton Soames. He teaches at the St. Luke College. Soames. And now professor asked to Holmes, can you please give me some of your time, Mr. Holmes? Today happened something in the college and I am very worried about this. So Holmes, okay, tell me your problem. Then Soames say, tomorrow will be the first day of an important examination, and but now when I come back, Soames says that tomorrow is the first day of an important examination, and I am one of the examiner here. I am going to read some papers, and at 4:30 p.m. I leave my room to take the tea. Where did you leave the papers? Holmes asked. Private detective, so he asked some questions. So he asked, where did you leave the papers? Then Soames reply, I leave my paper on my writing table and I locked my door and I was away from there for 1 hour. For 1 hour. But when I arrived back, I saw a key in my door. I think it is my key, but no, that is Bannister's key. Watson. Okay, why did he go in your room? Watson, or Watson is the Holmes assistant. So he may also ask some question to the Holmes ki why, if you are not in the room, then why Bannister go in your room? Then Holmes reply कि he brings me a tea in every afternoon and he may forgot शायद वो भूल गया कि that I was not in my room. Holmes, okay. But where you find the question papers when you are arrived back in your room? Soms reply कि I leave all the 3 papers on my writing table. But when I goes back in my room, I found one was on the small table next to the window, one was on the floor, and one was on my writing table. फर्स्ट आई थिंक सॉम्स को अपने पेपर अलग अलग जगह पर मिले तो वो अपने बोल रहे हैं कि दैट आई थिंक फर्स्ट कि मे बी बैनिस्टर विल चेक द पेपर्स. सो आई ऑल्सो आस्क्ड टू बैनिस्टर आर यू टच माई पेपर्स? But Bannister says, no sir, I don't touch your papers. Okay, then Holmes asked, okay, then what you did next? Holmes, Bannister suddenly began to fall ill. Bannister बहुत ज़्यादा घबरा गया, बहुत ज़्यादा बीमार फील करने लगा. And I told him about the papers. When I told him about the papers, he sat down on a chair and I gave him a drink to drink. Okay, Watson, what you find next? Soms, there are some small pieces of the pencil on the table which is near to the window. Okay, then Soms said, okay, so someone sharpened the pencils. Soms, yes. Holmes, okay, that help us. Then Soms tell, I also found some 2 more things in my room, that there are some black mud on my table. And I have a new writing table, but now there is some cuts on my writing table. Holmes said, okay, is it okay or anything else? Then Soms replied, no, nothing else, but I found these 3 things in my room. So Soms said, okay, that will help us. Now we will go in your room. So here the scene 1 is completed. So in scene 1, Mr. Hilton Soms, the professor, goes to the Sherlock Holmes house and tell them what is happened and what he find in his room before leaving the room and after leaving the room. Here the scene 1 is completed.